Hi, I'm Dr. Jeff. Welcome to my stress workshop tonight. We're going to get into solutions for people's busy lives nowadays. And the solutions, they're not always the simple things that you might be looking for. I'll tell you some simple things, but we're going to get into how to stay healthy in a stressed out world. Okay, let's see. Wouldn't you know it?
Net job.
Teamwork. My clicker's not working. Let's see if backup clicker's working.
Oh, you. Is it better?
It doesn't have to be in there. Oh, there we got it. There we go. This is why I always have a backup clicker here. Because sometimes things go right. What is stress, anyways? Well, I hope I cover that tonight because that's what we're here to talk about. Now, when we get into stress, we're going to talk about how we can answer that. We're also going to be talking about different paradigms, different models. Because my model is going to be greatly different than the medical doctor model. All right? And one of our models is going to be right, and one of them is going to be wrong. So you'll have to decide which model you want to live in. Now, remember that expression, don't worry, be happy? Well, let's change it to, don't worry, have gratitude. So part of the sub-message tonight is gratitude. Because gratitude is an incredibly important aspect of keeping our stress under control. And if we have gratitude and we show that to other people, then we're going to do better. But I'm going to talk about the 5 essentials of maximized living and how this all fits into the model. Now, with maximized living, we're not saying you have to do one thing to stay well. You see, we live in this world where you're convinced if you only had that test by your medical doctor, if you only took this drug, everything in your life would be great. And I think on many levels we know it's a big fat lie, but it's easy to believe. It's easy to believe a germ made you sick because you've been told that since you were born. Well, if germs made you sick, shouldn't your medical doctor be dead by noon? Because all they do is they see germs all the time. So it's not germs that make you sick, it's the fact that your body's run down. So we need to find a way for your body not to be run down so germs don't affect your life the same way. So my paradigm is different than the medical paradigm. So, maximized mind. That's one of the essentials of maximized living. And that's about faith in a higher power. It's about having peace in our lives. It's about making sure that when we're peaceful, well, our immune system works better. So when you're peaceful, you don't catch colds, you don't catch flus, you don't end up on medication. So I'm 54. I am 28 years and 1 month since any medication has gone into my body. I am no different than anyone in this room, but I'm doing different things. So if I can get you to do more different things like me, the same way someone showed me how to do it, then you could have the same kind of success. Now, I'm not a martyr when it comes to drugs. If I need something, I'll take it. However, I haven't had to need anything. And that's the whole secret, is taking care of yourself. Maximize living essential number 2, that has to do with your nervous system. God put the most amazing power in your brain and spinal cord. My job is just to make sure that power can flow. So my profession is the only one that professes your body has an inborn ability to heal. Who believes the body can heal naturally? Yeah, there's a time and a place for emergency care. I'm not saying if you've been in a car accident that I should be your first stop, but we believe our body can heal. I walk into a medical doctor's office, they don't believe the body can heal. They believe you are chemically imbalanced. They believe that spasm is a problem. They believe your inflammation is your problem. I don't think it is. I think that's a cry from your body to change your lifestyle. Once again, a different paradigm, isn't it? Maximize living essential number 3, it's about the food we put in our body. You can put food by God or food by man. Every time we pick up the paper, we read about how bad high fructose corn syrup is, and people are eating more and more sugar than ever before, and yet they keep eating sugar, and they keep getting sicker. See, the medical model, they're going to have a solution for diabetes, a solution for heart disease, a solution for cancer. I don't want to teach you all those different solutions. I want to teach you how to take care of yourself so those things don't ever happen to you. So it's not about what you do when you get cancer. It's about how to never get cancer in the first place. That's what healthcare is all about. Maximize living essential number 4, like it or not, you got to exercise. Jane, You actually, where are you? Where are you? There you are, thanks. You actually got personal training today. She was the only one that did the workout with Mitchell today. So we do 2 free workout classes a week in our office. You can come in and you can do the workouts. Now, any other time, if you're a patient, you can come in the gym and use that equipment at any time also. It's there. Why do we offer it? Because we're trying to encourage you to do the things that you know you're supposed to do. Everyone has to exercise. You can wait till you have a heart attack and then we'll call it cardiac rehab, or you can do it and not have a heart attack. You know, either way, you have to exercise. I think it would make more sense to not get sick. Maximize living essential number 5, that's the one essential that we want to minimize in our life. We want to minimize exposure to chemicals. I was talking about this to a patient earlier. So this is a deodorant, and we got this at Costco. And it's really clear. It says no aluminum, no parabens, no phthalates, no propylene glycol. Gee, I wonder why they're telling me about that. They're telling me about that because those are bad chemicals. You see, they're marketing to me. And I don't mind some marketing because this is good marketing. Now the other aspect of the marketing, we see those other commercials on TV about 48-hour antiperspirants. And I sit there and go, so you're telling me you're not going to exercise or bathe for 2 days? Like, do we need that many chemicals on our body? Because I'm sure there's more chemicals in that one than the 24-hour one. And you're blocking up all your pores, you're keeping poisons in your body, instead of understanding you're putting chemicals on there that in small amounts you can probably cope with. But trust me, you're not exposed to them in small amounts. You're constantly exposed to them and they're building up in your body. What's that unstoppable thing? You put it in the washing machine and your clothes stay smelling fresh for 12 weeks? I think there's a lot of chemicals in there. Do you agree? That's what happens. And you buy in on that model. We need a new model. So tonight I am going to come at our talk from 5 essentials of maximized living so you understand how to build a foundation to keep you well. Let's face it, if you wanted the easy solution, you would have simply Googled at home how to avoid stress. And they would have given you the top 10 reasons. You would have went, wow, that's great. I'll do deep breathing exercises. Now, and I'm not making fun of deep breathing, but some people in here are sick enough that they're either going to hyperventilate or they're going to have to spend their whole day deep breathing, aren't they? Because that's really not going to fix you in the long run. It might calm down you at a certain point, and I'm not against those things. I think those are great things to do. But let's start to eat better and exercise, and then we'll add those on. It's kind of like people that want to take vitamins and then not eat properly. It's like, well, I'd rather have you eat properly, then maybe vitamins will do something for you. So it's about getting that in perspective. People want the low-hanging fruit. Yeah, you'll get those things in the top. We have apple trees at home. And the apples on the bottom, they taste okay. Tell you what, the apples up top generally taste better. They get more exposure to the sun, they get more wind, they get more air up there than the ones at the bottom. So what do I want you to do? I want you to do a little more work than maybe you're prepared to at this point, but you'll see the great benefits from doing that. So we're going to have a lifestyle approach of how you're going to stay healthy and how you're going to stay well for the rest of your life. And this is all about not waiting for sickness and then figuring out what to do. It's about having a game plan, a proactive game plan so you get well. So the first question I have for you tonight, what's the definition of health? Yeah, don't Google it. The true definition of health, and this is what we were taught at Chiropractic College. So if you go to different dictionaries, you'll get a different one. The one that I like is health is a condition of optimal physical, mental, social, I like to throw in spiritual, well-being, not merely the absence of disease or infirmity. See, for most people, health is how you feel. Well, I feel good. Well, let's call that felth. Now, that's not a word. Health is a word. And when you look at the first 4 letters of health, they're heal. That's why it's called health. It's your body healing. So if I sprain my ankle and I get pain, my body is doing the right thing. It's telling me that there's a problem. That's a healthy response. Swelling. Where the medical doctor is going to take the swelling away. See, they've convinced you your body makes mistakes all the time. So even though you get pain, you could be healthy. And when you start to look at it, high blood pressure is called the silent killer. So everyone's waiting for a symptom. Cancer can be there in your body for 10 years before you know about it. The first sign of heart attacks or first sign of heart disease is death in 40% of people. So we're not visiting at the hospital anymore. We're visiting that Urban Good Funeral Home. That's the first sign. You're waiting around for the first sign. Your body won't give you that first sign until it's very, very late. That's why we have to shift our paradigm. So, the definition of health: optimal mental, physical, and social well-being, spiritual, not merely the absence of disease. So, first point is, most people, they don't know what they don't know, okay? We think we know what health is. We talk about health all the time. We talk about our healthcare system. And when do we go see our doctors? When we're sick. That's called a sick care system, all right? And it's okay to have a sick care system, but what should we call it? Sick care. It's not health care. It's not prevention. It's going in when you're sick, and then going back when you're sick, or going in, if you're way ahead of the curve, to see if you're getting sick early. See, that's what screening is all about, right? It's all about, they call that prevention, and I said, that's not prevention. Prevention was not getting cancer. Screening is finding cancer at an early stage. They are different things. But you're convinced that that's prevention. It's preventing it from getting worse, but it's absolutely not prevention. You guys get that, don't you? And you're talked to like this by the media all the time, and you get convinced that we're all designed to break down and get sick. No, we're not. Our normal software package is health. We're supposed to stay well. How about the word diet? To me, the word diet means what I eat. Everyone else is like, oh, I got a diet. It's like, well, we all have to diet. We all have to eat food. That's what diet means. It's what you eat. Yet society has changed the word to losing weight. Not what the word means. So we talk about healthy meal plans so we don't confuse people in our office. Because a healthy meal plan is what you need to eat for the rest of your life. You can still eat some sugar, but you gotta watch sugar. Sugar's horrible for you. So what does stress mean? Well, we'll start right now. Stress is a challenge on your body, either inward or outward, but it's your body being challenged. And stress is a neutral word. A lot of my talk is based on a Canadian physician. His name is Hans Sallier. We're going to show a lot of his quotes. And when you read his quotes, I'm going, this guy could be a chiropractor. Like, he knows more than some of my colleagues, the way he says these things, which is kind of cool, because I got a lot of colleagues who take drugs, and they never x-ray people, and they don't understand what it is that we do. Right now, they did a study in my profession, and 47% of my profession, and trust me, I'm a drugless practitioner, 47% of us want to prescribe drugs. And I'm going, why? Can't people get drugs fast enough? You know, their drugs are everywhere. We're taking fentanyl and we're trying to make it illegal. We're taking marijuana and trying to make it legal. It's like this crazy world that we're in, and I just don't understand what the priorities are. And yes, we don't want to see people die, and I understand why we need those packages to help the people who are having the fentanyl overdoses, but if we just stopped taking fentanyl, people would stop having overdoses. Now, I got an interesting article that Linda found in the paper, and it was a study that was done at University of Guelph, and they found out that if you're a sugar addict, and the high fructose corn syrup especially, they said you are more likely to, if exposed to OxyContin, to become an addict, because it affects the same area in your brain. They call it the reward center. So the people that eat sugar and like sugar, that's because they just keep stimulating an area in your brain that you like. But the problem is you're going to like more and more sugar, because that's the only way you're going to get your sugar high. And these people, when they eventually hurt their back or go on to their medical doctor, they will get that. Mitchell, my son, had a nasal operation 2 weeks ago. Before I even saw him in recovery, they'd given him 2 Percocets. And then they gave him a prescription for 20, and they said, you're going to have to fill this. And we went, yeah, okay, great. We should go sell it to someone, but we wouldn't do something like that. So we didn't fill it because he didn't need it. Now, over the next week, he was in pain. But Mitchell managed with 6 Tylenol over the next week, week and a half. Now, he hasn't taken these pills since then. But they gave him 20 Percocets. And they don't know how these are very addictive. They don't know if he's got an addictive personality. Here's your prescription. Good luck with that. This is what happens in a doctor's office. And if you're one of those people taking a lot of high fructose corn syrup, you might be getting in some serious trouble very, very quickly. All right? That's what you need to be aware of. Breast cancer awareness. This is one of those breast cancer months. You're going to notice that I've got my beard I'm growing for November already. See, this is going to prevent me from getting cancer, I guess. I'm looking at this going, I get your awareness, I understand the awareness, but what you're not aware of is this is a marketing campaign. It was invented in 1985 by AstraZeneca. Who are they? They're a drug company. They brought you things like tamoxifen. So this is just a self-serving thing that they do. And when you look at any of the talking about what they're going to do with breast cancer awareness, it's all about screening. It's all about mammograms, and it's about tamoxifen. They don't talk to you about cigarette smoking. They don't talk about weight loss. They don't talk about exercise. They have just stopped talking about that because drug companies don't make any money from that. This is how it became. It was this thing that just transitioned into it, and people don't get it. Today, I want the lights to go on so that you understand you're being marketed to and lied to by the media. You're getting a very left-slanted view. Actually, there was an article this week in the paper, I don't know if you saw it. They explained that, yeah, most of the news is very left-wing. It's people trying to change your opinion, and they're hoping that you understand that there is a balance. No, people don't understand. They think that's real, what they're saying. No, no, no. There's bias with everything. So you have to be able to look at both sides of the story and then figure out where you need to be instead of blindly listening to the media. Now, mental health awareness, once again, is brought to you by drug companies. And when I look at that, I said, brought to you. I should have said it's bought to you by a drug company. I think that actually fits better. But think about it. I already gave you the definition of health, didn't I? Optimal, physical, mental, social, and spiritual well-being. There's no such thing as mental health care. It's health care. Do you guys understand that? It's already part of health. It's not separate. It is part of health. It's part of who you are. And yet, they've separated. They call it mental health. But you know what? This is all about drug companies. It's all about medication. That's the medical approach, the pharmaceutical approach to health. Well, I subscribe to, actually, that's a great quote too. The number one reason why people see doctors in Ontario is because of stress or anxiety. And that was in the paper about 3 years ago. Trust me, it's always going to be number one. It is never going to be number two or number three. People are stressed. They're doing too much. If you're doing too much, you got to change some of those things. So some of the simpler solutions, yes. You got to farm some workout, you got to change some activities in your life because you got to remember, it's your life. You've got to make different choices. This is from a medical doctor. I do some, he's been doing a couple of our seminars that I've been to, Dr. Peter Bregan. And this is Alert 19. It just came out this week. So it comes to my email. And this is on antidepressants do kill people. So this is a medical doctor writing about antidepressants. 2 studies have come out in the recent weeks. And he talks about this. So let me read what he says. He said that antidepressants increase mortality risk by 33%. They don't decrease, they increase. And it increases the chance of a cardiovascular event by 14% in the general public. So if my stocks go up 33%, I'm pretty happy. All right? Things are good in my life. You're on these medications with the promise it's going to help you. And here's another study. 33% increase in mortality. That means you're going to die. And then there's still another 14% they're going to have a heart incident. Maybe some of them will die, maybe they won't. So there's a lot of people we're dealing with here. Second article that came out, they said that antidepressants increase the risk of death and dementia in elderly patients. So once again, you get into the nursing home setting and the people end up on medication, and now it increases death in dementia. Let me read that properly. Death in dementia. So if you have dementia and they put you on these, it's going to increase the chance of you dying also. So these pills have horrible side effects, and somehow we've bought in on it. You see the commercials on TV. They show you puppies, they show you everyone smiling, and then they get into the fact that you might have suicidal thoughts and suicidal ideology. I don't think your pills can ever be a long-term solution without looking at your total lifestyle. Because the pills are just a simple thing, that low-hanging fruit that we need to avoid in our lives. Anyone ever watch the show Blue Bloods? It's one of the shows that we watched. They had a couple good lines last week, and one of my favorite lines is, someone said to Tom Selleck, they go, you ever heard of karma? They were trying to get a point across, and they're trying to bully him. And he goes, I'm a Catholic, I don't believe in karma. And I thought, that was pretty good. It's like, yeah, this karma stuff. No, there's a cause-effect world that I live in. And there's rules to the world. Karma, okay, you can do that, but I love the cause-effect world. But in the show, there was a situation where this judge dies, and we don't know whether he jumped off a building or got pushed off a building. Spoiler alert, he was pushed off the building. But they knew he was on antidepressants, so that was part of the interweaving in the plot. And they said, well, look, he's on antidepressants. People on antidepressants, some of them kill themselves. And I'm listening to this going, holy cow, have I had too much to drink tonight? Because this doesn't make sense. So I was just watching it, and it was like, that was crazy. And then they had to replace the judge. So the head judge had to figure out if it was going to be a mistrial or get a new judge. And then some lawyer says, well, look, if people on antidepressants shouldn't be doing this. And she looks back and goes, the head judge goes, I'm on antidepressants too. So it's like, wow, someone else is on antidepressants, and sure, judge. And then she says, and 50% of the people in New York City are on antidepressants. And now I've like almost lost my mind at this point. And she was wrong, it's closer to 20 to 25%. But that's how many people are on these drugs. And you don't understand. These drugs don't give you a long-term solution. You need to start exercising and doing everything else in your life to stay well. Now, when we talk about the word stress, most people really mean distress. Stress is a neutral word. There's something called distress. There's something else called EU stress, which is a positive stress. So stress is a good thing. It gets you up in the morning. In chiropractic, we talk about ease, and we also talk about dis-ease. Medicine's convinced you that disease is one word. And as a chiropractor, I go, no. It's your body's not at ease. If your body's not at ease, my job is simple. I need to make your body at ease again. But putting drugs in your body and not altering your lifestyle, it's probably not going to work in the long run for the majority of people. See, they've broken up sickness into a bunch of different protocols. I just want you to do one protocol. Eat well, exercise, decrease your stress, don't poison yourself, and take care of your spine. If you do that, God's power will flow through your body, and the power is what keeps us alive. It begins with our thoughts. How we decide to control ourselves and our body. Now, I'm going to put this up at the end, so don't start writing frantically and writing it down. This is a good affirmation to say, I cleanse myself of all selfishness, resentment, critical feelings by my fellow beings, self-condemnation, the way we think about ourselves, and misinterpreting my own life experience. I bathe myself in generosity, appreciation, praise, and gratitude for my fellow being, self-acceptance, and enlightened understanding of my own life experiences. You need some anchors that you can hang on to, that you can say nice things, and you can forgive yourself, and you can forgive others. The hardest forgiveness is always going to be yourself. So you need something to be able to say to yourself. So we'll put this up at the end, take a picture for your camera, and then you can have that for yourself. But we need to say positive things because this world is just so negative. Hans Selye, I told Pluto we'd be talking about a lot of his quotes here tonight. So once again, a Hungarian-born physician, spent most of his life at McGill University. And I'll tell you what, he was way ahead of everyone else when it came to what stress was and what it does to your body. We've all heard of things like back in high school, the fight and flight response. Most of us are living in fight and flight all the time because we're looking at a cell phone, stressing our spine. We're just stimulated all the time. There's just no downtime like before. And the problem with that is adrenaline, cortisone, all those hormones that run your body, they get in the state where they think bears are chasing you all the time. So your body has to adapt and adapt and adapt. And then our blood vessels, bless you, aren't used to dealing with this on an ongoing basis instead of just these little spurts, which is really what was built into your body in the first place. So if you're pushing your body in the wrong direction, your body will adapt, it'll compensate. Cancer is simply an adaptation to your crappy lifestyle. It's not a genetic issue, it's just the fact that your body had no other option. People talk about heart attacks and I say, well, why would your heart attack you? Doesn't it love you? You know, you're living in this world where there's battles and wars going on all the time. The fight against cancer, Well, here's some advice. Don't get in a fight with cancer. You know? It'll kick your butt probably. So don't get to the point where you get sick like that. Hans Selye, it is not stress that kills us, it's our reaction to stress. See, that's different, isn't it? It's how we interpret and how we deal with stress. Stress is a neutral thing. Can we make it a distress? Yes, if we attach negative thoughts to it, we worry about it, we stay up late, we don't get sleep. Yes, you can take stress and turn it into distress. But you can also say, hey, you know, God made me to be able to do this, and I can handle this, and I'm going to try it, and if I fail, I'm going to try again. See, it has to do with your mindset. And you have to understand you can do it. Because if you think you can do it, you greatly increase the chance of your success, and I'm going to go as far as to say your survival rate with that also. So it's about changing the way you think. To be totally without stress is to be dead. So when someone says, I don't want any stress, well, according to Hans Selye, that's a bad thing, isn't it? Be careful what you wish for, because that's what it would be. And this is a medical doctor telling you this. I love this one. We might have to break it down a little because it is a little wordy. So these are his quotes. I love what he says, but we'll go through it, then we'll circle back. Mental tensions, frustration, insecurity, aimlessness are the most damaging stressors, and psychosomatic studies have shown how often these cause migraine headaches, peptic ulcers, heart attacks, hypertension, mental disease, suicide, or hopeless unhappiness. Now you got to understand this was written maybe in 1960 or 1970s. And think about how people's lifestyles, they were so much better back then, weren't they? So let's circle around what he's talking about here. So yeah, those are the stresses, and we all do those things to their body, me especially. Now what psychosomatic means? Psychosomatic is your actual brain and spinal cord, and psycho is how we're going to basically react to it. So he's saying that if we become stressed, the studies that explain how our nervous system works, they're going to have devastating effects on our organs. And look at what we have here. We have a recipe of why people see medical doctors all the time. They see them for ulcers, they see them for heart attacks, they see them for diabetes, they see them for all these conditions. And like I said, this was written many, many years ago, and we're talking about hopeless unhappiness. My goodness. And I think we all know people like that. And once again, we need to make differences, different changes in our lives. So how do we do that? We need to adapt and to the right attitude and convert that negative stress to a positive stress. So you can lie awake in bed and you can worry, or you can be solution oriented. And your solutions might not work the first time or the second time. But are you going to give up? Are you going to give up, or are you going to try again and again? People tell you things are negative and you believe them. You're buying in on their model. You need to buy in on your model. And when you do that, I think you're going to be far more successful. Hans Selye again, if you want to live a long life, focus on making contributions. So you want to become healthier? Start helping people. Start volunteering, and you will get healthier. Mental health? Yes. Because actually, we talked about that. There is no mental health, there's only health. And that's what people try to convince you. Mental health. Marketing, drug company, getting you on medications. Chemical imbalance. My goodness, your body does a million things every second keeping you in balance, and now they're going to convince you you're chemically imbalanced? I'm not saying there isn't problems, but this expression, chemical imbalance, it's not fair. It's not fair to say they know everything and this one thing needs to be fixed. It doesn't necessarily work that easily. Another great thinker, Leo Tolstoy, the sole meaning of life is to serve humanity. Well, we're here for a reason. Part of what I do is try to educate people so that you understand there is a conscious choice that you can make instead of just blindly listening to everyone else. Now listen to this one, because this is cool. This one makes me think he's a chiropractor. What makes me so certain that the natural human lifespan is far in excess of the actual one is this. Among all my autopsies, and I have performed over 1,000, I have never seen a person who died of old age, which is kind of cool. And then I love this one, because now he doubles it down. So if you're a card player, this is the double down. In fact, I do not think anyone has ever died of old age. whoa, he's really getting way out there. And he said, no one has ever died of old age. Well, let's see what he has to say. We invariably die because one vital part has worn out too early in comparison to all the other parts. One part wore out. The other parts were all fine. So he's saying we all should have outlived what we could, but we didn't know. And this is a guy who did autopsies. So, they'd be cutting someone open. Hey, their liver's great, their kidneys are fantastic, but oh, their heart's a mess. How does that make sense? All these organs were aging the same, but they weren't aging the same. Well, what controls everything in your body is your nervous system. As a chiropractor, my job is to make you understand that messages travel from your brain to your organs, and then from the organs to your brain and to your muscles. This constant communication. All of this every single second to keep you alive. And this isn't some kind of new age thought. This is how the body works. We were taught this in grade 9 biology. The nervous system is the master control system. It controls and regulates every single cell in your body. My job is to make sure there's simply no interference to it. And when you put drugs in your body, especially putting Oxycontin and you're putting Tylenol and all these things, those are causing another level of interference. They don't fix your first problem, they make more problems. Now, when you get misalignments in the upper neck, yes, it can cause brain fog. Yes, it can cause lack of coordination. It can actually stop you from being able to focus and read and enjoying life the way you want. It can affect how your heart and lungs and GI tract work. One thing we see in the office is leg lengths. You get a problem in your upper neck, and I check your legs, and all of a sudden one leg is 1 centimeter shorter. It's kind of like walking around your house with one slipper on and one slipper off. So this creates all sorts of stress, and then you have to compensate and adapt your body. And all those compensations are like short circuits, and they drain you of energy. Then you get these weird compensations, and before we know it, we see these people walking in the mall, and they're moving this way, and their head's that. You see these people, they didn't just wake up like that. Their compensation didn't work, so then they went on to the next compensation, which didn't work. See, the body never makes a mistake. So the whole concept of a heart attack, back to that one, is your body kept adapting and adapting and adapting until it got to the point that the only solution was a heart attack. You attacked your heart. Your heart did not attack you, okay? It was your diet, it was your stress, it was your exercise. It was not the other way around like you want to believe, all right? Because this victim mentality, it doesn't work here in our office, all right? If something goes wrong in my life, it's pretty obvious it's me. It's nobody else. You have to adapt that same concept and take charge. Immune function. This is what keeps you from getting the flu. Increased pain. People are constantly in pain nowadays because they're looking down at phones all the time. They're eating food that's filled with chemicals and is bad for you. I think we know fast food is bad. People still eat it. Like, oh, I got away with it. It's kind of like a stroll through a minefield, yeah? Oh, I stepped here and I didn't lose a leg. Oh, look it, I'm still okay. It's like, yeah, you're okay for the meantime, but there's going to be the one step, all right? So you're waiting for the symptom, where I'm trying to convince you to not wait. Loss of energy. Once you lose your energy, it's pretty hard to exercise. Dizziness, nausea, yeah, I don't want you up on a ladder, that's going to get bad. And your hormones. Your hormones, when they get out of balance, they can really rob you of energy and cause weight gain. You can run into all sorts of health issues. All this can be related to what's going on in your spine. Now, this is a real simple model, but we got the brain here, and I got the first two vertebrae. You got to understand that there's one nerve that goes to my pinky finger or one of the cells in my kidney, and then that same cell has another nerve that goes up. This is how the brain works. This is how the body is designed. We're making it real simple. Brain, and that's one cell down here, and there's this communication loop that has to happen. When a bone, especially in the upper neck, gets slightly out of place, communication gets altered. Might not get stopped, it gets altered. So now messages get garbled and you don't get exactly the message that's supposed to happen. Now you got to understand, there's 70 trillion cells like this that are communicating with the brain. God did not make a mistake. This is designed to work a certain way. And my job is just to make sure that bone is exactly where it's supposed to so that your body can heal. So I'm not going to fix asthma or low back pain. Those people come in with that and they get better, but I don't fix a condition. I remove interference and you fix yourself. That's how the body was made. So in chiropractic, we talk about correcting the subluxations with the spine. The neck curves one way, mid-back the other, and the low back the same way. There's 24 movable bones in the spine. My job is to make sure they're moving. Real simple. And when you do that, heck, my kids have been adjusted since birth. Not because they have pain, it's because they have a spine. My oldest has never been on an antibiotic. My youngest has never been on Tylenol. My oldest was on Tylenol because I didn't know enough. And my youngest was on antibiotics for 3 days. And then I saw the light. And I took the antibiotics away, and he's been great ever since. So my kids have been brought up in a different world because I trust the power that's inside their body more than I trust the pharmaceutical company. Some solutions. There was some great articles in the paper last week. Linda cut some of them out for me. Greenery may help you live longer. Gee, getting out into nature and doing the things that you need to, your body will work better. Now, I talked about Reagan's article about, and this is Health Alert number 19, just so you know, all right? So I haven't been back to his website, but that means there's probably 18 pretty ugly ones in front of those, too. And this guy does a lot of research on where these drugs, and especially the antidepressants, that's what he spends a whole lot of time talking about. So he's a guy that, a good one to get some emails from. You need to get out of your head. There was another article, let's see if I have it here. Exactly what you need is get out of your head. It's judgment. So this article talks about the things that we do all the time in our life. He talks about judgment. He talks about having a mantra. Remember that, the quote that I showed you? You need something that you can kind of hang your hat on so that you're going to be fine. He says you need to notice the outside noise. Basically, you need to just get distracted in your life. You can't just be looking at computers and phones all the time. You need to focus on other things in our life that are going to make you a better person. And you need to remember at all to handle the present moment. So yes, you need to be aware of what's going on. When you look at that horrible thing that happened in Barcelona, where a van comes down the sidewalk and people get run over, it's being present in what's going on. It's being able to look around and understand that there's situations that are dangerous, but when you're constantly having earplugs and things covering your ear, you're not aware of what's going on in your world. And when you look at the news, when you start looking at these incidents where there's the shooters, Las Vegas is a great example. You ever notice shooters are always on medication? Now, mainstream media did not talk about it. The New York Post did mention it, but they didn't mention it in connection to anything else. He was on Valium. And if you look up Valium, you're going to find out 1 to 10% of people have psychotic episodes, hallucinations. These are major, major things. I'm not saying everyone on a drug is going to kill someone. I'm saying the people on drugs, when they kill someone, it's probably not their fault in most cases because of these psychotic episodes that these people go in. And like I talked about it, maybe 20% of the population, 25% of the population is on these medications. And if only 10% of those people at a high number would have any of these situations, that's about 2% of the population, when you do the math here. But when you look at the shooters, they're all on the drugs. 98% of the shooters shouldn't be on any medication, just statistically when you look at the numbers, and yet they all seem to be. And the alternate sites, I guess, those are the ones that I read, they'll talk about it, they'll make the connections. They'll say it's not gun control, it's drug control. And I say, well, I appreciate that. The gun was there, but the people were on the drugs, they took this. I get that. But mainstream media stopped talking about it, and I think they stopped talking about it after the German wings flight. I don't know if you guys remember that one. Co-pilot locks himself in, crashes the plane with young students on the way back to Germany, and he was on those drugs, having a psychotic episode. And then all of a sudden in the media, the blanket. Media gets a lot of their money from the drug companies.
Sure.
Yeah. Can't say things like that in front of the media because, once again, they're paying your bills. Yes, you got to see this stuff. You got to understand it's the marketing. People try to convince you that everything is about you. That's what marketing is all about. Well, Jesus dying on the cross was about you. I'll give you that one, all right? But everything else is not about you at all. What did Tolstoy say? It's about serving humanity. That's why you're here. It's not about you getting a new phone. It's not about you driving an expensive car that you can't afford, because you're not owning it, you're leasing it, you have to give it back at the end after you give them $40,000. I don't care if you have expensive vacations, enjoy your vacations. If you can afford them, enjoy them. You know, that's great. But don't put it on your credit card and carry the debt. That's just dumb.
And stressful.
And it's stressful, yeah, that'll cause your digestive problems. And then it just goes on and on and on. Change your perspective. One of my patients, Bernie, she had this beautiful thought for me. She told me this about a year ago. She goes, I used to hate cleaning the house, and Bernie's in her 80s, and she still cleans her house. And she said, you know what, I'm going to start cleaning the house for the glory of God. So now I have a different perspective. I'm still cleaning the house, I'm still doing the same thing, but I'm doing it for God. I went, oh, that's pretty nice. So now she doesn't mind cleaning anymore. So she took a stressful situation, she reframed it in her mind, and she's doing it for Him now. Hey, great. Guess what? You can reframe anything in your life. And at first you're going to be saying, I'm lying to myself, I'm lying to myself. Yeah, you probably are. But you were lying to yourself before. It was just a different lie. Alright? You believed in their lies, and you believed in them so much, everything else seems like a new lie to you. No. It's a new paradigm. You're shifting. You're changing how you think so that you can become the person that God needs you to be. So yeah, watch out for the marketing, because someone's always trying to sell you something. The only thing I sell people in my office is you've got an incredible power inside your body. And right now your power's not flowing. So that's where I do come in, but no one else will tell you how great you are. You're going to the doctors, and they'll just tell you you're going to be sick, or you're on the way, or you've got a cholesterol. They'll find the worst thing, and they say you might have cancer. It's like, hey, great thing. Thanks for that, doc. You know. And mammograms, they find out women that go and get their mammograms, 1 out of 3 are told they have cancer when they don't. And this is state of the art. 1 out of 3. And if you take enough of those 1 out of 3 people, the medical number is 200 of the people that were 1 out of 3. One of those people out of the 200 will actually have mastectomy, radiation, and chemotherapy, and they didn't have cancer in the first place. This is all medical stats when you read this stuff. So when they talk about screening, about how effective it is, it's not. It's the best they have, but it's not. They're waiting for you to break down so that they can do their stuff. And no one's convinced you, like me, that you don't have to break down. You don't have to get sick. You're not designed to get sick. Sickness is what happens when you don't take care. All right, hang on. Bear with me for a moment.
Technical difficulties.
Yeah, that happens. That's me. I'm Mr. Technical. No. I just decided to go backwards in my slideshow. That happens.
It's called recap.
So yes,
Yeah.
it's going to be a test. So yes, you need to unplug your life. I see people, it's funny, because I see them walking along the Walter Beam Trail. That's a community trail. It's close to our house. And I see them walking along with their phone. And I'm wondering if they're watching a video of nature. You know, because they're walking along. It's like, you're in nature. But put your phone away. Do something that's good for you instead of just sitting there and not enjoying what's going on around you. Now, if you're subluxated, when your bones are out of place, it does a lot of things to your body. So I'm going to break it down from a maximized living point of view. If you got pressure on your nervous system, your brain can't function properly. 100% true. Your organs will not work properly. Most people just want to wait around until the organ breaks down or gets to crisis. Kidney failure is an interesting thing. You can function at 50% of your kidney function. You can get through your day and through your life. As soon as you go to 49%, all the bells and whistles go up. Then you're in serious trouble. It happens that quickly. My job is to make sure you don't understand where you are. We're pushing your body to that position where you're going to have the potential, all the potential that we see in health. If your body's not working right, you can't absorb properly. It robs you of energy, so workouts aren't going to happen. And yes, part of your job as the nervous system is to get poisons out of your body as quick as they come in. We all have that 94-year-old Uncle Leo that we know, where this guy smokes and drinks and doesn't take care of himself, but he's never been sick a day in his life. You know, he'd never seen a doctor, and he's doing everything wrong. So what are you going to do? You're going to do like him? No, you don't want to be like him. But he's got the ability to get poison out of his body as quickly as it comes in, where the rest of us, we accumulate it until we get to a sickness stage. So yeah, you don't want to push your body, as we say, you don't want to put God to the test. You don't want to say, yes, I know I'm supposed to eat a certain way, but I'm not gonna. I want to see what happens. Well, I'll tell you what's going to happen. You're not going to like it. You're going to get sick. So you got to make better choices, and you got to start now. I'll tell you again. The healthiest of all human emotions is gratitude. So once again, we need to be able to thank people. We need to say grace before dinner. We need to thank people in person, or by emails, or by phone. And emails, that's a cop-out, you know. This is how people communicate. Talking to people is so different. The younger generation, they don't get this when I say this. You know, my kids used to say, I can't call someone, they'll think I'm weird. It's like, yeah, you're weird. Everything else we don't inoculate you, we don't give you drugs. Haven't your friends noticed you're already weird anyways? You're the only one that eats vegetables. They used to say to my kids, well, vegetables are girls' food. And the kids look around and go, there's no girls eating this. Alright, it's not girls' food. It's like, well, you hear this stuff, and it's like, come on, guys. They don't get our generation. Our generation's right in a lot of things. Now this is another word you went to, so you're going to have to bear with me on this one, because I'm going to read it. It's his quote. I can't mess it up. And then I'll tell you what he really means to say. Almost no germ is unconditionally dangerous to man. Its disease ability depends on the body's resistance. So what he's saying is no germ is so strong that the body's ability to combat it, is better than any germ, is really what he's saying. So if your body's resistance is always stronger uniformly than any other germ, now some people might get sick to this, some people might get sick to that, but not everyone, he's saying, is going to get sick to the same germ. And he's saying the reason why is because you have a resistance. And if your resistance is high enough, you're always going to be fine. So what does that mean for something like the flu shot? Do we all need the flu shot? I don't know, you decide. You decide what to put in your body. There's a promise that this is going to fix you. But the reality is, if you're one hand wash away from being sick, you might want to come up with a new game plan. And it's a great thought that if we took the shot, all these seniors would live. It's like, it's a great idea. Can you show me any research on that? It's like, no, we can't really. Actually, we can show you research the opposite to that, if that would help you. So yeah, it helps me a lot, because it's a lie. I know what you want to have happen, but if you start to look at the things like the Cockburn Collaborative, there's plenty of places where you can go, and they've looked at the data, and they said, no, there's no data that supports this. Now we're taking 6-month-old babies, and we're giving them the same dose that adults are, and there's mercury in there, and they're giving these shots to pregnant women. And I've got the flyer. Linda, if you could go right on over there, the counter, right there before you go into my office, there's 2 pieces of paper there. And I read this information from the drug companies. Every year they put out something called a monogram for the flu. And it's like it's a 22-page diatribe of what can happen here. And here's what they say about pregnancy. Pregnant women. The safety of flu viral when administered, I like the wording, when administered to pregnant women has never been evaluated. So I look at that and I go, well, it did sound like they administered it, didn't it? It said, when administered has never been evaluated. So that's like getting someone to write a test and then, well, they didn't pass it, so maybe we shouldn't grade them. Get where I'm getting on this here? So they're saying that we don't know what would happen. Well, I think they might be saying they do know what is happening. And even if they don't know what's happening, should we be doing that to someone? Because they're saying they've never studied it. And yet the health unit says, oh, it's safe. I go, wait a second. Did you guys do any independent studies? And they say, no. Well, the people who made it said they've never even looked at it. So I wouldn't give that to my wife. And then when you start going into the research, and this is from Green Med Bio, JRC's site. He talks about the fact that if you take these flu shots, there's a 7.7 greater chance, that's 770% chance greater of you having a miscarriage if you're a pregnant woman. These are big numbers. So, my job is to protect the unborn babies, because that is something people aren't doing. So, I know everyone has their own rights, but, babies should have rights too. And mothers should be able to understand their options and choices instead of just going blindly into it. Because when we grew up, we were the thalidomide generation. Thalidomide was like 1 or 2 years. My mom, I think it was 64 they took it off the market. My mom could have been on that. She wasn't. Lucky, because my mom's a nurse. She was big on drugs, all right? She's still big on drugs. So that was her model. So I'm lucky that way. And then at that point, they said, don't give women aspirin. Now, it went from one way, and now it's like, yeah, we can give them needles with mercury in it. Well, we can, but you might not want to. It might not be the best thing for you. So it's your choice, but I want you to make up your own mind. The 5 essentials of maximized living. Well, once again, maximize mind. If you get stuck in stinking thinking, if you listen to the lies from the media without actually looking at things objectively and understanding that there's 2 sides to every story. I'm not asking you to go out and do your own research. I'm saying, okay, CBC told me something. Maybe I'll go online and I'll read something different. Maybe I'll go to Fox News and see a slightly different interpretation, and then I'll have to decide where I'm drawing my own line, because they are going to be far, far apart. And I think it's kind of funny when you look at how they frame all those things. So once again, I appreciate what they both say, and then I have to make choices in my own life. And we have to watch the negative stressors and not get caught up in the negative stressors. Remember, your nervous system controls everything. You've got to take care of it. And you have to understand God's food versus man's food. If you don't understand that processed food is bad for you, you're absolutely going to put on weight, get sick, and if it's high fructose corn syrup, which is the thing that's in most of your food, the processed food that you're eating, then if you ever get exposed to certain medications, you are in incredibly bad danger. So that article was in the paper just a couple days ago. It's right here. Oh, my last article right here. This is great. This is the University of Guelph study. And they looked at that. They decided to look at it. That's interesting that they even decided to look at that. And what they found was to explore the possible roles of sugar-rich diet in opioid addiction. We investigated whether unlimited access to high fructose corn syrup, well, when you look around Canada, that's pretty much what we got, altered rats' neural and behavioral responses to a semi-synthetic opioid OxyContin. Our studies suggest a diet high in corn protein may dampen the reward association with OxyContin. So what they're saying there is you take the OxyContin, you don't get high, and as a result of that, you'll consume more and more and more. It won't turn you off it, it will turn you on it. And that's what they found with rats. So guess what? You're a big experiment if you start taking all these things and not understand that this is food. See, in nature, fructose used to be a very, very hard thing to find. It was only in fruit. And then someone took fructose from corn, high fructose corn syrup. And you know, when you start to look at some of these juices, they go, oh, I'm drinking apple juice. It's like, I'm actually drinking corn juice. Alright? It's corn juice that you're drinking. It's grains. Everything you eat in your life is grains. And you can't eat carbs all the time and expect to stay healthy. And yes, you have to avoid toxic substances in your life. Your body's designed to clean itself out, but it can only do so much. Now, one of my goals for tonight's talk was to make sure that it was different than what you were thinking, because most people are coming here and they're looking for the 1 or 2 easy things. There are easy things that you can do, you know, and if you need those, come and talk to me at the end. But I hope you understand this was about building a foundation that's so solid that you don't have to worry about the next pandemic and about heart disease. People spend their whole life worried and stressed about sickness when the normal state of the human body is already health. A condition of optimal physical, mental, social, and spiritual well-being, not merely the absence of disease and infirmity. That's what the word means. And once you understand the meaning of the word, you have to hold people accountable for that, because your doctor doesn't keep you well. You know who keeps you well? You do. All the choices that you make. Going to your doctor once a year for a checkup, here's a good idea. Why don't you look what you're going to eat for breakfast tomorrow, and then lunch, and then dinner, and throw in exercise. Why don't you do things on a daily basis to not get sick, instead of doing whatever you want, and then at the end of the year go to your doctor and go, wonder what they're going to find. They're going to eventually find sickness and disease, because you're doing everything to make yourself sick. That's why we all go for checkups. People, are you worried? I go, first, I don't worry. I try to pray more than worrying, because Because praying is looking in one direction and worrying is looking in the exact opposite. And I find it's really hard to look both directions at the same time. So I choose prayer instead of worrying. Doesn't mean I don't worry sometimes. But I catch myself and say, remember, it's this way that we're going. I don't care if there's a mountain, I'm still going that way. It's not about the easy detour all the time. It's not about the low fruit. It's about making choices. So tonight is about, it's a workshop. You know, once you come to a workshop, you have to work. Now there's a video at the end. This is from a TED Talk, and it really wraps things up well. So we're going to finish with this. It's about 4 minutes. The graphics aren't great, but the message is great. So let's put that on now.
Cramming for a test. Trying to get more done than you have time to do. Stress is a feeling we all experience when we are challenged or overwhelmed. But more than just an emotion, stress is a hardwired physical response that travels throughout your entire body. In the short term, stress can be advantageous, but when activated too often or too long, your primitive fight or flight stress response not only changes your brain, but also damages many of the other organs and cells throughout your body. Your adrenal gland releases the stress hormones cortisol, epinephrine, also known as adrenaline, and norepinephrine. As these hormones travel through your bloodstream, they easily reach your blood vessels and heart. Adrenaline causes your heart to beat faster and raises your blood pressure, over time causing hypertension. Cortisol can also cause the endothelium, or inner lining of blood vessels, to not function normally. Scientists now know that this is an early step in triggering the process of atherosclerosis, or cholesterol plaque buildup in your arteries. Together, these changes increase your chances of a heart attack or stroke. When your brain senses stress, it activates your autonomic nervous system. Through this network of nerve connections, your big brain communicates stress to your enteric or intestinal nervous system. Besides causing butterflies in your stomach, this brain-gut connection can disturb the natural rhythmic contractions that move food through your gut, leading to irritable bowel syndrome, and can increase your gut's sensitivity to acid, making you more likely to feel heartburn. Via the gut's nervous system, stress can also change the composition and function of your gut bacteria, which may affect your digestive and overall health. Speaking of digestion, does chronic stress affect your waistline? Well, yes. Cortisol can increase your appetite. It tells your body to replenish your energy stores with energy-dense foods and carbs, causing you to crave comfort foods. High levels of cortisol can also cause you to put on those extra calories as visceral or deep belly fat. This type of fat doesn't just make it harder to button your pants. It is an organ that actively releases hormones and immune system chemicals called cytokines that can increase your risk of developing chronic diseases such as heart disease and insulin resistance. Meanwhile, stress hormones affect immune cells in a variety of ways. Initially, they help prepare to fight invaders and heal after injury, but chronic stress can dampen the function of some immune cells, make you more susceptible to infections, and slow the rate you heal. Want to live a long life? You may have to curb your chronic stress. That's because it has even been associated with shortened telomeres, the shoelace tip ends of chromosomes that measure a cell's age. Telomeres cap chromosomes to allow DNA to get copied every time a cell divides without damaging the cell's genetic code. And they shorten with each cell division. When telomeres become too short, a cell can no longer divide, and it dies. As if all that weren't enough, chronic stress has even more ways it can sabotage your health, including acne, hair loss, sexual dysfunction, headaches, muscle tension, difficulty concentrating, fatigue, and irritability. So, what does all this mean for you? Your life will always be filled with stressful situations, but what matters to your brain and entire body is how you respond to that stress. If you can view those situations as challenges you can control and master, rather than as threats that are insurmountable, you will perform better in the short run and stay healthy in the long run.
Wasn't that great? Like just that last line.
Those little guys.
And they're cute. They're growing on me. And that's all I have to say tonight. So you know what you have to do. You just have to build that foundation. And yes, it's going to take a while, but that's what our office is all about. So you're capable of anything, but don't internalize things. Make things into a positive environment. Oops, I did promise I was going to put the last slide back up again. If anyone wanted to take a picture of that. Perfect. So thank you. Go and change. Thank you. Use the gratitude.